there are two sides to every story, and we must, if we want to be fair, give space for those who wish to respond.
Mm.
So after 2 days of us posting the Germany declared war podcast, the Russians responded. Not to our podcast, of course, but what we reported was said by Germany on our video. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said in an interview yesterday, this is on Wednesday,
Yes.
we do these podcasts on a Thursday, that Germany was repeating historic mistakes. I wonder what he meant by that. By becoming involved in the Ukraine conflict, a trajectory that would lead to its collapse. This, of course, in response to Chancellor Merz's statement that Germany would supply long-range missiles to Ukraine to reach far into Russia. Sergei said that Germany's involvement in the war has become quite clear. Germany is sliding down the same slippery slope it already followed a couple of times in the last century. That was a bit clearer. Right?
Yes.
Adding that he hoped that other politicians in Germany would ultimately draw the right conclusions and put a stop to this madness. So also yesterday, because the other podcasts were released on the Tuesday, so this was yesterday on the Wednesday, Merz doubled down and he said in a joint press conference with Ukraine's Zelensky in Berlin that a new form of military-industrial cooperation was created with Kiev, claiming that both Ukraine and Germany want to ensure joint production of these long-range weapons. Now, I remember Eisenhower giving that you have to be careful of the military-industrial complex.
Mm.
Germany seems to be, Merz seems to be promoting the very thing that Eisenhower said we had to be careful of.
Mm.
But there you go. Answering Merz's comments yesterday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said, the latest statements and provocative actions by some EU member states are obstructing the ongoing efforts for a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict. He said they hinder peaceful efforts. He went on that Germany is competing with France for supremacy in Europe. Of course, he didn't mention the UK because normally it was UK, France, and Germany.
Yeah, big three, yeah.
I think he omitted because he didn't really respect it.
Well,
I think UK is more of a it's been put on the sidelines. But let me just turn this up.
Yeah.
He hoped that in spite of these speed bumps, that a peaceful outcome could be the result of diplomatic discussions between Ukraine and Russia. Back in Germany, there's a lot of doublespeak, of course. You know, politicians, it's fork tongue time. In just 2 days after Germany declaring war on Russia, the Vice Chancellor Hans Klingbeil said that no new discussions have been made on the range of Ukraine missiles since those made in the previous administration. Trying to pull the wool over Russian eyes by saying we haven't made that decision to send them missiles long range into Russia.
Well, yeah.
The thing is that Merz said that this decision of the long-range missile was made months ago. So that was in the previous government.
Possibly, yeah.
And so this guy's saying that no decisions have been made on long-range missiles since in this government, you know, it seems that this guy, this Klingbeil, is speaking with fork tongue. He says we didn't say they could, but the last lot said they could, so they can. If that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. We'll blame the last administration, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Ralph Stegner, member of the SDP, called Merz's comments unhelpful and that diplomatic efforts were the way to go. And Russia has consistently warned that supplying such weapons would implicate those who supplied the weapons a direct party to the conflict.
Well,
So, if Germany decides to send their Taurus missiles long-range missiles to Kiev, or start building missiles together with Kiev, they are part of Ukraine and they will be treated as such. So there we have it. I was reading between the lines, and it seems that Russia is trying to keep the peace, and probably because the Russian economy is quite calm. Russia isn't suffering all that much. I mean, it's a poor country, small economy, but it isn't suffering as much as Germany, which was the powerhouse of the EU, which is in a depression at the moment. Yeah, some argue that it's a recession, but it's a depression. It's more than 2 quarters.
Yeah.
So, and they're trying to make themselves known on the world stage, and they're just not the wrong way about it. But anyway,
I mean,
in conclusion, Russia is trying to keep the peace, and Germany is trying to stir the Scheißen.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, okay. I mean, okay. I'll preface what I'm about to say. Yeah. I mean, strictly speaking, if I'm looking at it, try and look at things critically. Yes, Russia is the aggressor in this particular instance for invading Ukraine, any part of Ukraine, whatever the circumstances in the first place. Yeah. At that particular point when they went in there, it still in 2014, it still was not part of Russia, and it still isn't part of Russia officially. Yeah, but I'm going to put that to one side. The only country, I mean, you say Russia keeping peace. Okay, I'm going to step and counter this argument, and even if I don't believe so, I mean, the best way that Russia could actually advocate or keep peace is stop fighting. Where I know the ramifications of that, but stop, have a ceasefire, and say now's the time to talk, guys. Yeah, I know the reasons why they won't do it, strategically and other reasons. Yeah, but that would be the way that Russians could show faith, good faith. Yeah, I'm balancing it out here. Yeah. Then there would be no reason to start supplying Ukraine with any additional weapons while there's a ceasefire, would they? Yeah. Yeah. And the minute that happens, then Russia can say that the terms of the ceasefire have just been broken. Okay, that's political. Now there's only one, from what I understand, there's only one entity who've actually put together a plausible roadmap to peace. Neutral country, not a country that's one side or the other. Yeah, a neutral country. Yeah, the US in quite recent times. Yeah, the US has stopped effectively supplying Ukraine. Certainly not supplying Russia. Stopped supplying Ukraine. Still has some sort of trade embargoes against Russia as well, admittedly. Yeah, so if you like, punishing both sides or saying to both sides, cool it. And this is a road back to peace. Okay, this particular entity, the US, want their money back. Yeah, for money that's already been spent there. In other words, it's kind of saying to the Russians, we're not actually helping Ukraine. We just done a business transaction. We want our money back. Yeah.
Well, just to come back to the peace ceasefire, there was actually a ceasefire implemented. What Russia didn't want was a 3-month, 90 days.
Yeah, I'll get that. Yeah.
And he said because the Ukrainians would replenish their arms and people
yeah.
in their arms,
right? I mean, yeah.
But there was I think there's like a short ceasefire which Ukraine decided during this time in this ceasefire to send the drones across. And the drones went to Moscow or tried to get to Moscow. The vast majority of them were blown out of the sky.
Yeah.
Then there was another drone that killed a Russian general somewhere, and so Russia retaliated. Right, and it's been like that ever since. Russian retaliated.
Well, of course, yeah.
Ukraine complaining that there've been missiles have hit them, and so they're sending more drones across. Even the day before yesterday,
Mm.
There was 49 drones sent to Moscow
Well, that didn't
by
really.
Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't really hit.
One would argue that, we've got one of these chicken and egg situations,
Yeah,
a little bit like, it's funny because when the world condemns Israel
yeah,
for bombing Gaza and
yeah,
all the way there, and you mention to them about the Hamas
yeah,
sending their troops across, flying over to the
yeah,
kibbutz and that, what do they say? They say, but this is because of,
yeah.
and they
Well,
try and justify it. Russia went into Ukraine
mm,
and people just condemned Russia
mm. Well,
and nobody tried to justify it,
mm.
you know. So, it's two weights and two measures.
Yeah. Yes, you can always understand. I mean, yeah. I mean, we've anyone that studied a little bit of history of that would understand. Or more recent, yeah, that where, like you said, the Crimea and also the Donbass, there's Russian people who consider themselves Russian-like,
Right.
not. And if you're talking about right to self-determination, I mean, I don't know how. Yeah, we discussed this before about referendums there and everything else. Yeah, okay. I don't know how to pleased how the Russians would do it. Um, yeah, as I say, I'm trying to walk the middle ground here. Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
trying to see both sides of the argument. I mean, I'm not even pretending that the Russians are good guys in all this because they're not. Um,
No, but we can
yeah,
only go by what they say.
yeah, yeah, and they've made a statement. I mean, they've made a direct statement, and I mean, when Russia decides to do something, they will do it. Yeah, and when they're saying that, Germany will then be seen as an extension on Ukraine,
Yep.
they're probably not joking. And the Russians don't care about how they play the game after that point, after they're given the warning.
Yep. Yep.
Um, we know that I mean, yeah, the Russians will suddenly decide to do something and it gets done. Whether it'll be that efficient or not is another matter. They're not that good militarily with logistics and things, but they will do something. Um, it's it's worrying times. I I'm going to be quite honest here. I mean, I'm trying to work out why the Western European leaders are using the language they're using. They condemned the US for trying to at least try and get people to talk about some sort of peaceful resolution. Yeah. Even if it isn't actually getting Ukraine and Russia at this point to actually sit down and talk together. Yeah. I mean, anyone with a bit of sense knows that just isn't going to happen. Um, I mean, Zelensky keeps flip flopping as well. One day he says this. It depends who he's meeting on any particular day. Yeah,
It,
who he needs money from.
it
Yeah,
wanted a percentage of GDP of the EU so it can buy arms.
yeah,
This is
um,
Zelensky.
yeah. I mean, he's not. Excuse me. I mean,
It's like it's a little NATO.
well, with him, we got our yeah, yeah. He's been pictured as this sort of hero and everything. I'm sorry, I'm not feeling it with him. Yeah, I'm
No.
just not feeling it with him. Um, when you consider what is also done internally in Ukraine of shut down opposition to him and everything else, yeah, and also religious intolerance and everything else, yeah, and I find it very very difficult to actually feel any real support, and I'm not against Ukrainian people. I wish the killing would stop tomorrow or today, and that they could talk. Maybe, yeah, all go and have a meeting around a table in Turkey, smoke the peace pipes, as it were, and just try and have a discussion about it while you're talking and not fighting. That does me, yeah. Um, it's a difficult situation. Um, we've always on this channel advocated to stop any escalation. Both of us, well, I think, will agree that no escalation should be happening anymore. We should be now discussing, well, okay, um, are parts of Ukraine eventually going to be handed over to Russia? I don't know. It would seem the answer. Would that mean displacement of Ukrainian people? I don't know. Again, we don't know that much. As I said, I know there's people in the region who consider themselves more Russian than Ukrainian.
Mainly in
Uh,
the east. Mainly
eh?
in the east.
In East, sorry, yeah,
Mainly, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, they keep saying that Putin wants the rest of Ukraine. I don't really see that. I don't think he's got the resources to do that. I really don't. Not directly, yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you took over the country, what would you do next? Given that if you took over Ukraine, the whole of Ukraine, he would then possibly incur the anger of the West as well. He would have to hold on to what was probably insurgents or freedom folk, call what you want, within the Ukrainian border, whilst being attacked by others. He would understand that. Yeah. Belarus can be of little help to him, really, militarily. Yeah, only they're just a border country. So yeah, when you're looking at it, the logic of what is getting said about what could be happening is very, very strange. Yeah, and
Well,
I've
I'm going to go a little bit conspiracy theorists here
mm,
and say that the EU is a little bit like what happened or what tried to be done
mm,
around about 60, 70 years ago.
mm,
Only they did it politically,
yeah,
and that is like sort of one nation to cover the whole of Europe.